Hello guys, welcome to my channel for a new video. So this time, this is a bit unusual on my channel, but I wanted to do a list analysis, and it was regarding the Infernal Dwarfs list of the WTC 2021. The idea was the following. I personally use ID. I try to follow a little bit what other players use also, just to have a look and see a bit how the book evolves since we are in the lab phase. And it's interesting because WTC was just after the release of the new Infernal Dwarf book, and therefore it's the first competitive event after the last version of the book. So it's interesting to see with what people decided to go, and I wanted to figure out also if there is any kind of, I don't know, direction where the people tend to go or things that people tend to pick. I wanted to do some kind of analysis just out of curiosity, and I thought let's do it and share it with you, because I think it might interest you as well to do also some kind of, I don't know, kind of analysis on how the book is evolving after the last update maybe. So for the single event, we are a total of 50 something player, if I remember correctly. I am one of the 4 ID player. So you know my list, I talk about it in the tournament introduction, so I don't need to talk about it again in the detail. Let's have a look at the other 3. So first we have Simon list. He's playing so Nezibkesh. Then we have this is an usual Cowboy Toric Ritual Vizier, pretty cheap with a 2-up, 4 attack strength 4. So I think he's trying to pin down stuff, 3-up in close combat only. Obviously it's sexy on paper. In my list, the character section is often very crowded, so I never found points to fit such a guy. I think he's better on paper than what he is at the table, because he can die pretty easily to stuff, but at the same time he's not that expensive, so why not? Then he has a Vizier on a Seat of Authority with a 1-up probably, I guess. 3-up, 2-up, 1-up, yeah. No, 3-up, 2-up most likely. I don't think the Seat of Authority is giving, he's giving a boost, 1-up, sorry. So 1-up and giving the hit back, but at the same time no ward save, no magical resistance, but you have here Obsidian Rock, okay, why not? Then we have an Adept Pyro, so combination between Master Alchemy and Adept Pyro is pretty effective for ID. He's planning maybe to see some combat because he decided to pay the 2-up armor save. So he's likely to fill the unit that might see some combat, and we see there is only one vassal block to... this guy can only go into one unit, and he didn't want to have a dedicated bunker. That's most likely why he paid him a 2-up armor save. But at the same time, I would say that this mage is pretty cheap, and I would just most likely, since you are playing Pyro, you don't want to go into combat with Pyro because you want to use your spell. So I think most likely I wouldn't pay any defense item and just move him out of the unit before combat, and then you can just spend these 50 points elsewhere. 35 levies in core, 2 times the flintlock, so we see flintlock are back with the new version of them, back with the old range. 4 anointed with pretty expensive for 4 anointed, more than 500 points, so this is definitely an expensive setup for only 4 of them. No Toric character, so yeah, this is surprising for me. Infernal Weapon Shield, full command and Flaming Standard, this is a lot of options for 4-man strong. I've seen more uses of 4-man strong with Great Weapon or Paired Weapon, and then only maybe Musician Champion, or even only Musician sometimes. 5 Incarnate with Champion, Vassal Cav, Infernal Artillery with a Nafta Thrower, so... And then in the Instrument of Destruction category, decided to go with an Engine Rocket Battery and a Citizen Giant. So here we see some kind of synergy between the Engine with Nezibkesh to have the Engineer get +1 to hit. I've been playing in the past this combo as well. I think if you pay the price to get Rocket Battery on the Engine, you might as well try to fit a character with Engineer in your list, because it helps you get some better damage output out of the Engine. And then the Citizen Giant, I think is a good piece nowadays with the new version of the book to get some lateral mobility within your list. So yeah, this is, I think, a balanced list where you see some shootings and then some zoning element that can cause some damage as well between between the two big guys in the most of the destruction section, and then Incarnate of Torque Anointed. That's where you have the main combat threats, and then as well some unit that can take some damage. So yeah, decent list, I think, pretty balanced. Then we have David decided to go with the Prophet of Ashruk. So I remind you, with Ashruk you can choose which attribute you want to have, and he even decided to go with Essence of Free Mind, which is an interesting choice. Alchemic Pyro, and then this is really maximal flexibility, because even when choosing Alchemy with Free Mind, you can still pick the attribute with Ashruk, and the same goes for Pyromancy, which is really nice. Then we have Visio BSB with some MR, Blessed Icon of Zalamantekashi's special attack AP0, 5-up ward save, great weapon. So only some strange defensive setup here. I think you can, for cheaper, for the Visio it's pretty easy to have a good armor save, and I think in combination with Blessed Icon of Zalamantekash, I prefer to have 1-up, 5-up, which is pretty easy to reach, because you can just go like Willow Ward and Shield. You already have 2-up, and then together with Blessed Icon of Zalamantekash, it's not bad, I think, as a synergy. Here has only 4-up, 5-up with MR3. Definitely the MR is a good tool because he has Ashruk, so no ward save on the big boss. So this is nice. No binding in this list. I don't see the first list as well, no binding as well, so this always surprised me, because for me it's almost auto include to have binding scroll, and here this is very surprising. This is very new, I think, to fill the second Vizier, who is not a BSB or nothing special. He's just like a fighty character with tools, so he has an additional health point with the Toxic Breath and the Flame of the East, so these new Molten Copper hits, which is pretty good against, to balance a unit and to make it strong against armor. So not too expensive considering the amount of buffs that he paid to this guy, and I think it's only 115 base cost, so you can definitely get to something interesting without paying too much. Then we have 30 Great Weapon guy in core with Flaming Standard to get some easy reroll, 20 Blunder, who will be with the Bastion. So yeah, very solid unit. I use it as well. Maybe a Legend Standard would have been nice for not many points in core. 20 slaves, double Torque Enforcer, so this is interesting. Worth noticing that the slave with paired weapon makes reroll the 1 to hit, and this can affect any of the unit, because any of the core unit, and as well both Enforcer, because their standard are high, so definitely there are some use for these slaves in this list. And in this case he decided to put a great weapon, second one is paired weapon. Banner of Speed is interesting because movement 8 and 16, so this is really fast for ID. Definitely I will be following how he performs with this unit, because you can see the price is really cheap. 12 of them for either a bit more than 500 or a bit less. I mean, it's really cheap considering the full command plus Banner of Speed. Definitely I think it's much more interesting with the pricing now for the Enforcer to go either great weapon, paired weapon, or just great weapon or pair weapon, but not go shield infernal weapon, because that's for me too expensive. I'm asking myself why he decided to pay the shield on the great weapon guys, considering that you won't use it in close combat. Still have a 4-up from distance. Does it really matter to get 3-up from distance for this price? I would have rather keep them cheap, possibly. A rocket battery with infernal artillery, it's accurate, so you still hit decently from distance even without an engineer, so why not? First gunnery team that we see with an afterthrower, so short range but devastating from short range. Definitely a nice addition for the infernal warrior that gained some fast, almost an additional rank, and they gain some short range damage, so this is not bad. The combat Kadim Titan and Bastion we talked already, so yeah, this is definitely much more combat oriented than the first list. He still can shoot, and yeah, like me, I love the Bastion ability to move forward, because that's a unit where you can really move forward, and I think he's also taking advantage with this unit from the new Infernal Brand rule. So he has indeed 2 units that can really move forward and be steadfast and don't care that much. And the last list from the single is David. He decided to go with a Master Ashuruk of Occultism. That way you can still get the nice flammable attribute from Alchemy or some additional damage from Blaze, but still profit from Occultism when you don't sacrifice, which is nice. The tablet that boosts a little bit your ability to cast spell. Then we have a Prophet of Lugar on Academy Chariot. Was very popular before the release. We'll see if we see also a lot of them, but for, yeah, he lost some things in comparison to before, but it's still a decent mount, because yeah, it's a fighty mage and decent in fighting in close combat, and not too expensive for what he does, and still a mage at the same time. So he decided to pay a parry, which is nice, and then great weapon with the new Flame of the East. So that's a nice combination, definitely really decent, and can scare some character here. So yeah, love it. Then we have a BSB with Eye of the Bull, so this is also a new item, nice to see it pick. And we have a first Binding Scroll, but this is a naked vizier, so I think, yeah, it's mostly, I think it's to use it for the shooting abilities, because I'm not convinced this vizier will be willing to see that much combat, considering the defensive stuff that he didn't pay in this case. 45 Flintlock, so definitely Flintlock are back here. 6 Anointed with Infernal Weapon Shield Musician Champion. I think Anointed without Commissioner, I prefer them with Great Weapon, but that's mostly a question of taste. They are definitely still a very solid unit, but a bit more expensive, obviously. Then we have 6 Incarnate Champion, double Vassal Cav. Interesting that he decided to go with the Chieftain. I don't know exactly why, because nowadays it's easier to get the leadership, but I guess that's mostly for the leadership. Because he has not that many Infernal Brand guy, so I think he figured out, yeah, if I want to chaff properly, I will need this 18-inch leadership for my terror check and stuff like that. So double chaff, but as you can see, it gets pretty expensive. And then a Walking Titan. So we have a good mix between 3 combat threats that can charge pretty far, and then shooting mainly, and 2 chaff pieces, so pretty straightforward. Let's move on to the team lists. So it gets interesting. Maybe what we can say, you see the touches in the single, it gets a bit more all-round type of list. It's slightly more balanced sometimes. We'll see if that's true after having read the team of the list of the team. So first we have Batcat from France with an Overlord. Card Binding is playing the Arrogance, so that's worth mentioning, because the Arrogance got a lot of rework, and it's not so popular to field an Overlord on foot. At the same time, it's not that expensive, and I think the Mask of Ages, it's really an item that is only attractive on the Overlord, so definitely a decent build here for Batcat. Then we have Master Alchemy with the 4 prerogative given by the Mark of Lugar. A Scholar with the +2 to cast, definitely a solid magic combination. A Vizier that went with Turop and MR3. 25 Warrior, Blunderbuss, and if you see a block of Blunder, you often see a Bastion in the list. With Banner of Speed, yeah, there are a couple of options with the Bastion. Either you go Flaming Banner like I did, try to gain some reroll to wound against a monster that can be useful and scary, or you go Banner of Speed to extend a little bit your range damage with the movement March 11, or you can go cheap Legend Standard just to add some combat res, static combat res. Then it has a block of 40 levies, Spear Shield Flaming Banner, 20 levies with both to add some easy token early on, also with the Flaming Banner and Spear and Shield. 23 Lugars, first time that we see Lugar. I decided to go with Paired Weapon, add a Rending Banner from additional AP, and Musician Champion Standard Bearer. Here maybe I would have expected for people playing, we didn't see it yet, but this, I don't remember exactly the name of the item, but this item that allows you to remove the flaming attack. I think that would have been something I would have considered if playing a block of flaming guy. Double artillery, so we have a flamethrower for the big blocks and a rocket battery for the single models. Double Kadim chariot to zone a bit more, both paired weapon and then vassal slingshot. So this is definitely a quite defensive oriented ID list, I would guess, because you have not that much combat unit, you have some zoning tools, but at the same time what I fear for this list, it doesn't strike that hard. I mean, if you consider here strength 3, strength 3, strength 3, strength 4, strength 4, strength 4. And you have only the overlord that is a bit more scary. So definitely you have some tools with range damage between alchemy and artillery, but that's not that much, to be frank, and I'm not sure that will be enough in the current meta. I think it definitely needs to be paired properly. I think his pairing metrics will be, we'll see quite quickly where are the reds. I assume so. So if he goes against targets that where it doesn't need that much high strength, maybe it can perform well. We'll see. Dim, I know him well from Switzerland, obviously. He's a TC player. So Prophet of Shamut, Dim is the only ID player that decided to go without a BSB, but decided to go with a Prophet, a small bull of Shamut, with the Crown of Autocracy, which is definitely something special, because you can spare the points from a BSB, but definitely that's not something that a lot of people do with ID, so we'll see how he decided to build the list. So the guy has a 2-up against fire, ward save, leadership 10, 18-inch range, obviously is an adept alchemy. He went triple adept, so then you have adept occultism with the additional health point, and toxic breath, conjure adept witchcraft with a binding. And then the core is full levies, basically. He decided to profit as much as he could from the new oil flask. In the special section, Dim decided to pick a unit of Incarnate, 2 small units of Anointed that helps with scoring, because these vassals guys, sometimes you need Relentless to chaff, you're not sure to be able to use them to score, sometimes you need a bit more mobility. So I think the Anointed have 2 purposes here: add some mobility with the scoring, add some further scoring, and also with Great Weapon you get some nice strength 7 attacks that can be very useful sometimes for the list. Then he has double Kadim Titan, so one time the close combat version, one time the shooty version with rocket battery, and a Kadim Chariot with paired weapon to play also in combination with the other Kadim Chariot. Can always put the 2 of them together to split a little bit damage, which is always nice to have. So here we see a concept totally different from the first list. It's much more combat oriented. We have a light dose of shooting, but not that much, only a couple of bows, more than a couple, actually 80 bows in core, and then a rocket battery on the Kadim Titan. The rest is really close combat oriented, and definitely the fact that he spared the BSB. If you see the rest of the list, I think he should be fine. The only problem he might have would be close combat, where you need to rely on steadfast against things that do fear. Then you would have to roll 9 without reroll steadfast on big blocks, and that could backfire possibly. So that could be a problem for him, but we will see. I think also he will be careful with the pairing, and the rest is less sensitive. I think it's hard to panic those Kadim Anointed, the Torque Anointed, because of the high resilience, and the rest is pretty much not sensitive because of the lot of supernal that Dim picks. And also you see he is really taking full advantage of the flaming synergy that ID can have. Lawrence playing Master Ashurok with SS of Free Mind again, so this is the second time we see this combination. The Adept Occultism on Kadim Chariot, definitely a strong choice, with Occultism able to give the 3-up ward save, the Toxic Breath, the Pentagram. Occultism for an Adept is really strong, especially on the mobile one. So, and Great Weapon, the Breath of the Brass Bull, so again, an additional wound, and the Toxic Breath, which is always nice. Commissioner BSB with he decided to go with 2 up, I guess. Yeah, 2 up, 5 up, Onyx Core and MR2. So yeah, Onyx Core being cheaper, I think it gets very interesting for the commissioner, because strength 6 multi-wound D3 is always going to be scary. 2 times Ziggurat regular. I filled them several times in the past. I think they are really decent. 29 levies with okay, no champion. We see the champion with 40 points is really expensive. 5 anointed with great weapons to fill the commissioner. Musician champion 4 incarnate only. Double artillery, so I decided to go with rocket battery. We see rocket battery on the base. I thought it was pretty expensive, but yeah, quite a lot of people have decided to go with that, so we'll see how it goes. And then Titan Mortar, another Canim Chariot, Vassal Cavalry, and a Slingshot. So here we have no big guy, nobody into the category Instrument of Destruction, which is interesting. Also, yeah, similar, actually Bad Cat as well, had nothing. The Bastion obviously is big, but it's not anymore in this category. But here in this case we have, yeah, a little bit of artillery, yeah, actually 3 pieces of artillery, which is not bad. Some combat power with the bodyguard anointed. I must say I prefer in this configuration with the commissioner to have some resilient anointed with the 3 up armor save. I think it's slightly better, but then obviously we'll rely on the damage output of the commissioner. Alexander playing again an Ashok Master. This time he decided to pay him a ward save, and again the Free Mind Pyro. It's not written down, but I guess it's Pyro and Alchemy. Commissioner 4 attack strength 7 this time with parry and 4 regen. It's also valid build with 1 reroll for the armor save, so this is also a decent build. The Lamasus Scholar with no tool at all, so yeah, I'm surprised by the relative lack of Binding Scroll in this list. 20 Warrior Blunderbuss, Musician Champion, no standard. Yeah, I would have paid standard for units that are expected to fight, but in this case he has no Bastion as well, so maybe he's mostly relying on the shooting abilities. 2-time Flintlock. I guess in this role where you have no Bastion and you mostly want to profit from the shooting, Flintlock are slightly better, I guess. Overall they are more versatile, I guess. 5 anointed to go with the commissioner, great weapon as well. 3 anointed per weapon. Love this unit, really cheap for what it does, I guess. 2-time Vassal Cavalry, and then he paid the 3 gunnery team, so all type of gunnery team that will go each one into 1 unit. So this is nice. It adds a little bit of deep into the unit, and you gain some range damage for not a heavy price. And he paid as well Citizen Giant to have something a bit more mobile. So here we have a mix between, yeah, some couple of zoning elements, not that much actually combat power. We have mainly the Toric Anointed Star and the Giant that's going to move a bit around, and the rest is mostly range damage and shooting, and also chaff to delay a little bit the combat. Astagro, again a commissioner BSB, popular choice, same build as before, so Onyx Core, 2 up, 5 up. So it's always the big question when you take Onyx Core, then you are a bit less equipped defensively speaking. General Shurok, a Master Pyro this time, so you want to cast Blast but still take advantage from the Alchemy attribute. Nadept Occultist Canim Chariot, this is a strong build. We see it again with the extra wound and the Toxic Breath to be able to do some combat res as well. 2-time Ziggurat regular, so again a choice that we see a good variety until now in the core section. A block of Vassal Levies. 5, obviously if you pay the commissioner BSB you are going to pay a unit, so this is the same build that I took. 3 up armor save, and you're able really to profit from bodyguard. 4 incarnated champion, a rocket battery again on the infernal artillery base. Cadim Chariot, great weapon. 6 vassal calves, so this is pretty expensive for possible chaff. A gunnery team Titan Mortar that is going to go in one of the block in core, and a Vassal Slingshot to put some token, obviously. and also threats some solo character. So here we are relatively mixed between combat. So we have the block in core, 3 blocks in core that are going to play on the steadfast ability of the army, the anointed star that is pretty resilient, and then incarnate and stuff. What I see, it doesn't move that well to the side, but that's a weakness from the ID, we know that. And he decided to add a little bit of shooting with the rocket battery to threat the big pieces, and the slingshot as well, plus a Titan mortar. So that's still 3 things that do multi-wound D3 and could target some solo for, it's not a big price to pay. I mean, this is the same, both together at the same price as the rocket battery. So I like the combination of 3 of them, because if you put 2 rocket battery infernal artillery, you get very weak in case of comet or ambush. Here you have a good mix between the stuff. One will be in a unit, one will be on field, and the other one as well. So this is nice. Bit surprised by the point invested into this guy, especially since the list is slightly more mobile. You have slightly more Infernal Brand stuff. I'm not sure the Chieftain is needed, and the 6th guy obviously. And we have 4 more lists in the team tournament WTC. So we have Marcel Ritzema playing the Bastion Adept. First time that we see. Now again, a mounted prophet on the Bastion. Definitely Eye of the Bull is a design item for this guy on the Bastion. Makes him a very decent duelist. With the Binding Scroll, we have a Master Alchemy, who is the General of Ashuruk, with the Golden Needle of Shamul. So this this bounce spell with Glory of Gold, and Magical Heirloom as well. So a lot of spell. I think here Occultism on the Bastion is really good, because you can profit from the ward save, you can heal yourself, you can use Toxic Breath, so definitely a good choice. The Adept Occultism is always going to be a good choice. You are always going to be happy with your spells, either on the Bastion or on the Chariot of Lugar. Then we have again a Commissioner BSB, same build as before, 2 up, 5 up, MR2, Onyx Core, we know that. 20 Fleetlock, 20 Blunder, likely to fill the Bastion. So here again, I would have liked to see full command plus Legion / Flaming, or even the Speed Banner. You have some choices, but it's good to take advantage from the fact that the Bastion unit is so resilient to profit from the static combat res that you can get. So 20 levies with bows to just get an additional scoring, put some easy oil flask. 5 anointed paired weapon to put the Commissioner within. They are pretty cheap, obviously, but like I said before, I think I would prefer to not put Flaming Standard in a standard and try to go for the 3 up armor save. Double Titan Mortar, okay, and then Vassal Cav again with the Chieftain and Combat Kadim. So we have again a mix between a very shooty core, where I field it most. I think that will be more and more the case, that people will field mostly shooting out of core, I guess so. And then the rest is Anointed Star and Kadim Titan as combat threat. That's it. A solid Bastion unit in the middle, and you have then artillery. So it's very shooty, and some 2 big zoning threat more or less, and 1 piece of chaff more or less. Hypnotic, again, same BSB, more or less. It's no MR, but reroll, but you see the ID. We have Ashuruk Master Occultism this time. A Lamassu Scholar with the book. I think the book is a really good choice on the Lamassu Scholar. I often went with the cheap breast weapon strength 3, because I think it was decent on the Lamassu Scholar, and it's definitely a good tool for ID that can get reroll out of these flaming breasts. So I think that's the cheap choice. And then if you have a bit more point, definitely this Book of Arcane Mastery is really good, considering the spell that the Lamassu can select. 20 Ziggurat with Blunder as well. Okay, then we have 15 Flintlock, 40 Levies with Spear. So quite solid to have a big block that can push slightly forward, because the rest that's quite small. Anointed Star, yeah, that's the usual build. 3 guys per weapon, love them. Double Titan Mortar as well, so second time that we see this selection as artillery weapon. Definitely Infernal Artillery is more and more seen in this list. 1 piece of chaff, and then again the Combat Titan. Okay, so again a list bit mixed between some core shooting, some unit that can take charges, and then 2 versatile artillery pieces, because yeah, you can either target some single models or go against big blocks. So I would say, yeah, quite versatile list. Ryan Caps playing also the Commissioner on X-Core, so this guy is really becoming a star. We have the Prophet Ashuruk Master Pyromancy. So yeah, casting spell of Pyro, but still getting advantage of the attribute of Alchemy when needed is really nice. Prophet of Lugar on Kadim Chariot, Adept Occultism with the Breast. We know this guy as well, was picked quite often with a similar build. 20 Blunder with the Bastion, and here I picked the Legend Standard to take advantage from the static res. 16 Flintlock, 20 something, I would say 29, with Bows, Spear and Shield, Flaming Standard. So yeah, very solid core selection here. And then the rest of the list is quite interesting because he decided to go with, I think that's the type of list that you would expect to see for team event, because it's very specialized. In this case, you have double rocket battery, strength 7 anointed, multi-wound strength 6, commissioner, a strength 5 AP3 blunderbuss, and a bit of chaff. But yeah, you have some high strengths in this list, and I think Monster will not like to be paired against such a list. So definitely an interesting list here that fits well the team tournament mode, I guess. So yeah, I'm quite convinced. I obviously decided to go with Great Weapon for this reason, I guess. Yeah, not obviously, but I guess it's for the reason to just add another strength in this regard and stay pretty cheap. That's the main advantage in comparison with Infernal Weapon Shield. It's that you are much cheaper. So okay, interesting. And we finish with Blackie from Germany, Adept of Alchemy with the book on the Bastion. So second Adept on the Bastion, Master Occultism of Lugar on foot, Vizier with 1 up, I guess, and a Flintlock axe. 20 Warrior Blunderbuss. Do we have? Yeah, we have the Bastion here, so that fits well together. The 15 Flintlock are likely to have the Vizier within the unit. 30 Levies with some bows, so yeah, 3 shooty units with some character in it. Then we have 6 Incarnate, 3 Anointed per weapon, 5 Vassal Cavalry with the Chieftain, and then triple Citizen Giant. I guess, again, I think the Chieftain was not... Yeah, obviously it's easier to manage for the leadership, but since you have the Giant that move really well around, I think you should be able to get some Infernal Brand. Obviously, it's not easy to be within 6. So yeah, I guess because of the 6, maybe it's easier to have a safe chaff that can profit from the leadership. So yeah, from the leadership of the general. So I can see the point, especially since the general is on foot. It will not be easy to be within 12. So yeah, okay, why not? Yeah, interesting list again. So we have quite a lot of shooting, and the idea, I guess, since the opponent is likely to come at you because of the amount of shooting that you have in the core section, then he will be willing to punish and to have some mobility to the side. Here, what is interesting with the triple giant is that you completely neutralize the weakness of ID to be often not so good in moving laterally. So in this case, he has 3 single model that can move 14 laterally. So this is definitely very flexible and compensate a little bit the problem that might have all these blocks and also the incarnate. So interesting list again. And that's it, yeah, for the team list. So let's see. I've put some numbers. So in the team tournament, we have 9 IDs. In the single, we have 4, so that's 13 total. what I saw is only one overlord. Unfortunately, the only one that we saw was on foot with arrogance. So no Tauric Ritual, no Great Bull of Shamut, no Bull of Shamut, and only one on foot. So definitely I think the overlord is not in a good state at the moment in the book, and definitely struggles to find his spot within the army list. All 4 Church of Prophet have been picked. We've seen a dominance from Lugar and Ashuruk in comparison with Shamut and Nezibkesh, but all 4 of them have been picked. We saw 8 Prophet of Ashuruk on foot, obviously, 7 Lugar Prophet, 5 of them on Kadim Chariot. So definitely here something that was picked very often with the extra wound and the toxic breath. 2 Bastion out of the 3 Nezibkesh, and then the Shamut guy, one is me with Great Bull, and second one was Dim. So this is a sweet thing to take the Shamut guy on mounts. Commissioner BSB, I think 6 or 5 out of 7 with Onyx Core. So definitely the fact that Onyx Core is 10 points cheaper was also made him being picked more often, because he can also, with the Onyx Core and the mobility, he can fulfill a role that the Overlord cannot fulfill, actually. Because with the Overlord Tauric Ritual, you cannot have the very nice Strength 6 multi-wound D3. And with this guy, you can have the mobile Onyx Core. So he can achieve something that the Overlord cannot achieve, and at the same time, he's the BSB. So definitely, you don't need to ask yourself twice why people pick Tauric Commissioner, so many Tauric Commissioner BSB, and not so many Overlord. I think that's pretty straightforward. Visio BSB, 5 of them are all of them on foot here. No Tauric Ritual. And then normal Visio, that's something quite new, I guess. So 1 Tauric Ritual guy, that was an attempt at doing a small cowboy, pretty cheap, but only 1 of them out of the 13 list, and 2 of them as additional combat character on foot. So this is an interesting attempt. And then the support mage, we have seen 3 Conjurer and 3 Lamassu Scholar. Also some mention that I noticed during my analysis. I've seen 7 Anointed Star. So everybody that was playing a Commissioner obviously also took an anointed, big anointed unit of 5 guys to take advantage from the lookouts, obviously. Totally 6 Bastion, which is, Bastion are back. 11 Flintlock unit, 8 Blunderbuss unit, 5 Incarnate and only 1 Disciple unit, 6 Combat Titan, 2 Shooty Titan, only 1 Infernal Engine. I definitely expected to see more of the Shooty version, either the Engine or the Shooty Titan in Instrument of Destruction, and then 5 Giant. In conclusion, so overall, I think we saw a good diversification of the list. So definitely the fact that the due date for the list was just the day after, I guess, after the release of the book, made that people didn't have a lot of time to think about list. So definitely it's not a surprise that we see plenty of different things, but this also shows some improved balance, because if everybody would have seen broken things, they would have picked the same things, which is here not really the case. We saw some dominance, but not something that has been picked in all the list, or I don't know, 2/3 of the list. Special category, so some unbalanced choice. In this case, I was referring to the fact that half of the list took the Anointed Star. I think this is mainly due to the cheaper Onyx Core, I guess. And also the fact that Anointed didn't change at all between the last design and also the point update. So maybe that's, I think also the point update, so maybe that's also a reason why people had more certitude, maybe we can say, with this unit. Only 1 Overlord, I think that's sad, and I think people designing the book need now to consider the fact that the Overlord needs something a bit different. I think Tauric Ritual is way overpriced, considering the fact that you cannot have Strength 6 Onyx Core, so it's not, it couldn't be an amazing cowboy, so to say. And the fact that now Tauric Ritual doesn't bring the extra armor point, so I think now it's completely out of question. And then the rest of the mount I think is decent, but maybe it's a question of pricing more. I think it's more a question of pricing than design. The design of the Overlord is quite cool. He has some nice tool, he had some versatility, but I think the price is a bit maybe too high. Regarding the mounts, so we didn't see a lot of mobile mounts actually, only 2 bull, 1 Toric Ritual, and that's it. So not a lot of them. Definitely, I think what's expected mostly from the ID, especially in team tournament, is also a kind of solidity. I don't think ID are known for being like a top basher army or something that you can really get some easy 20s, and maybe that's why people tend to build solid lists that won't be too sensitive to the stuff that you might see in competitive environment, and that might be a reason why we see less build like that, like mine, that cost 1,100 if you lose him. So definitely that's a risk. Regarding Prophet, all church have been selected. I think it's pretty nice how it looked like at the moment for the church, so I think it looks pretty fine for this entry. The core shooting is again decent, is great again, we can say. Bastion a Bach 2, definitely the faith, the destiny of Bastion is linked to the blunderbuss design, and I think they found some good design for Flintlock Bastion. Definitely it's strong. Is it too strong? I don't know. Regarding the core setup, I think I expected to see even more vassal levies, because for me, Oil Flask is pretty strong, and I expected more people trying to take advantage from that and putting a ton of flammable incendiary token, especially in the team tournament, because team tournament you can kind of avoid the ward save against fire, and therefore you can try to put get paired against army that doesn't have ward save against fire, and then you can just try to put a ton of token and then take advantage with a lot of flaming unit, because we have a lot of them in the book at your disposal and a lot of way to get flaming attack. And artillery selected in half of the list more or less, so that was also very surprising. Artillery, we saw gunnery team, all of them, we saw artillery, all of them. So that was a positive surprise. We even saw, regarding artillery, we saw definitely more artillery pieces on foot or on mechanized support rather than on engine or Kadim Titan, and that was a surprise for me, so positive surprise here. So I think that's interesting. So that's all, guys. Thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope it was interesting for you. For me it was, to analyze a little bit what people did pick for this competitive event. Like I said, I think we need also to keep in mind the fact that the due date for the list was just the day after the release of the book, so people didn't have a lot of time to analyze all the possibilities to pick their list for ID. So I think we might see some evolution in the future, but I think it's encouraging to see so much diversity. Definitely there are still some unbalanced choices, but it's getting in the right direction in comparison to a couple of months ago. So I think that's a positive note for the people who designed the book. Thanks a lot to them for the hard work. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching, and talk to you soon on my channel. Bye bye.